Wow, the book, the audiobook, really good. Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be sharing my 5 recommended thrillers that I own physically. I do have a bunch of audiobook recommendations. If you guys want to see that in another video, please let me know in the comments below. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one, I only recommend this one because it's the only book I read by this author, but I am curious and I would like to read more of her books, but this is the only one I have, and that is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Fowley. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I have not read The Guest List, but I think it's on my list. So I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. I think I really enjoyed it and I liked the different chapters, but honestly this book kind of confused me. There were moments within the story where I was like, wait, is this the person or is this what's happening? And I think it kind of does leave, the book does leave you kind of second guessing the conclusion a little bit. I just remember when it ended, I was kind of like, so who did it? Wait, what? It was really confusing. But I really enjoyed it, and I think Lucy Fowley is a really good thriller author. I do recommend checking out her stuff. I heard this book is a lot better than The Guest List. It's about a girl who wants to go live with her brother. She gets a weird phone call from her brother, and it kind of ends kind of weirdly. She's really confused because I think it ends with him saying, what are you doing here? And then it ends right there. So she goes there, she's ringing the apartment, his apartment. He's not answering the door even though she knew that he was expecting her, and she's just confused as to why he's not letting her in. And then later on she finally gets into the apartment. She's trying to find clues why her brother is missing, and all of the apartment neighbors, every single one of them is just so sketchy, so creepy, and they're all suspects. So it's just crazy. I really enjoyed it. I like how it really confused your head, and even the ending was confusing. Next, I am a huge Ruth Ware stan. I have all of her books. I've read all of her books except for her newest release, 0 Days. I haven't read that one, but I have it. It's wrapped. That's why I haven't read it yet, because the number hasn't been chosen yet. But one of the top books of hers that I really enjoyed and gave a 5-star was The Woman in Cabin 10. So in this one, this is about a woman, I believe she's an author or a writer or paparazzi or something in that publishing industry, and she gets invited to go on this cruise to write a story or interview someone, and then she sees a woman fall out of the ship through the balcony next door. And she knows there was someone there because previously she did ask that woman to borrow her makeup or something. She has spoken with the woman next door. And then when she goes to report it, everyone on the ship tells her there was no one in that room, no one was assigned this room, no one lived in this room, you're crazy. And she just feels, she actually literally feels like she's going crazy. But then she starts to find little clues here and there of this missing woman. For example, she found her lipstick. This is not her, the main character's lipstick. It's the woman next door's lipstick who fell overboard that no one believes that she did. So it's just really intense and crazy. I will say it's slow. A lot of her books are, but they're crazy. It makes you really think. I have the hardest time solving her books. The next book I have to share is also a Ruth Ware book, because I recently, a couple of my friends read this book, and after I finally skimmed through it, I remember what it was about, and that is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I highly recommend this book if you're trying to get into Ruth Ware's writing, but I also recommend kind of starting from her first release and moving forward, because her writing does get so much better. But this is so good. I believe this is about a girl who is on campus, and then her friend gets murdered, and they suspect one guy. He gets arrested, he goes to jail, but later on in the future, as she's older, she realizes that he was not the guy. There's new evidence, there's this and this and that, and he was not the guy who committed the crime of her friend's death. And it's just kind of crazy. There are past and present chapters, and it just goes back and forth, and the whole time you're just like, oh my god, who did it? there were times where I knew who did it, but then something happens and then I second guess my previous thought, and then my previous thought ends up being correct, and it's just crazy. And I highly recommend this book. I really like Ruth Ware's writing. She just does such a good job, and I highly recommend all of her audiobooks. I believe she has the same narrator for all of her books, and the accent is just so good. I think it's like a British accent or something, and it just makes the book sound so good, and her narrator does a really good job. Next, this book was a bit of a surprise to me because I have an iffy relationship with this author, and the book is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. So Lisa Jewell is a thriller author. Her writing is somewhat kind of similar to Ruth Ware, so I believe if you like Ruth Ware and Lucy Fowley, you like Lisa Jewell, but her books are very hit or miss. I end up liking one and hating the other, and then it's like a love-hate relationship with me, so I don't know what's going on there, because the last 2 books of hers that I read, I did not like them, but I love this book. And I was a little worried because it's about a missing child, and that's a bit of a trigger for me, but I really enjoyed it, you guys. This is probably her best book, and I really enjoyed it. And what did I give it? Oh, 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars. It seems like I often give thrillers 4 stars. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The audiobook is okay. I will say the book is really slow, but it's also very short, and some parts are a bit like dragged out and repetitive. But I dropped a whole star because I was very annoyed by the mother's like relationship, sex life. I didn't care for it at all. Like, I understand why it was added, but I don't need the details or anything like that. I just didn't care for the mother's dating life at all. Like, I understand that she's moving on from her daughter, her missing child or whatever, but like, I don't care, you know? But other than that, it was really, really good. The person I suspected out right away, I was right, because it's kind of obvious in the very beginning, but I don't know, everyone might suspect differently right away, I don't know. But I did really enjoy it, and I do recommend it to a lot of my friends who are trying to get into thrillers. And the last book that I have to recommend to you guys is a book that surprised me, because I haven't read any of this author's stuff, and wow, the book, the audiobook, really good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I want to read more of his writing. I do have 2 of his other books that are wrapped somewhere, and that is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I will say the first 100 pages, a bit slow, but once they get into the house, once they start to unlock the history, once they start to talk about some childhood traumas, and once the brother kind of reveals what he did in the past, it just gets so crazy. And honestly, this book was a ride, because once you're up on this roller coaster of like crazy shit going down, and then it finally is concluded, and you think, oh my god, the book's gonna wrap up. But no, this other hill shows up, this other coaster hill, and you're just like, oh my freaking god, like these people never catch a break in the book. And then you think once that's resolved, it's gonna wrap up. No, more shit goes down. Like, it was just like trauma after trauma, and it was just so crazy and intense, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend reading this book or checking out some of his other writing. And I'm really excited to read more of his stuff, because I think he's like up there with Stephen King for me. Stephen King, some of his books are a bit dry, but I did like Grady Hendrix's book. I really like this book, and I loved the audiobook. I think the narrator did a really good job with the voices and the way she told the story. I couldn't stop listening to it. It was like, it was always playing in the background for a couple days because it was quite long. Usually I'm often listening to audiobooks on double speed, but this one I did not. I just loved the way she was telling the story. And so I just wanted to take my time with it, and I really enjoyed it. And all I have to say is that this book is about 2 siblings whose parents died, and they're trying to sell a house and puppets. That's all. That's all I have to say, because there's nothing else I should share or say about this book. But anyway, these are the 5 thrillers that I recommend you guys checking out if you're trying to figure out what thriller to pick up next. please let me know in the comments below what thrillers you recommend. I would love to read them and or review them in a future video. I love some recommendations because I am in my thriller era. Like, I've read I think like 12 thrillers this year, or maybe even more, and I've been having a swell time. So these are the books that I ended up recommending, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.